Hello, my name is Bonds. Thank you for stopping in. Today we're going to be focusing on the Mountain Blade official War Sails DLC. We haven't gotten an update in 2 years. 2 years of nothing. And today we're going to be jumping right into this. Okay. Very cinematic. Very, very cinematic. As a player of Bannerlord myself, I noticed been getting a lot more into cinematic things. That's sick. Are we actually going to be able to control those ships? Naval sieges? Hold up. Hold up. Look at all of that. Look at this. There's a ports in there and they're allowing you to actually see. I'm not sure if this is just going to be some type of cinematic thing. When you look at it, it looks like maybe they're having some seaside settlements, which is it's not new in the sense that it's there canonically on the map, but you'll never see a settlement that actually have a port, for example, in Bannerlord ever before. The very fact that they have a port definitely means that a lot of cities is gonna get revamps. Look here. This is why I feel like a lot of people are not paying attention to. This is a settlement with a port. Not sure about this island. This might be an extra island we could go upon, because I'm not sure if you guys have seen it. But if we go over here real quick, and we go on to Bannerlord original map. What about there's this is the leaked map found on Reddit over here. So something we could probably assume. Now this was found in the files. Now, because it was found in the files, if you look here, this is Sturgia, Britannia, Vlandia, the Western Empire, North Empire, South Empire, Kuzites, all of that, right? Now, we just saw a small island. If I had to guess, it could be any one of these islands. I don't expect it to be something like this. I could be wrong. Who maybe? Maybe they'll add this entire kingdom or this Viking. But they said a Nord update. And it's a whole Nord post. So maybe it'll be this place right here. If I had to guess. Because that's the only one that looks isolated like that. Yeah, that could be Drumland. That could be Drumland, honestly. Amazing. So we're gonna have naval sieges. Could you imagine moving the ships into an actual settlement? It'll be like nothing seen before. Especially what mods will be able to do with it. Look, each culture have their own ships. Now remember, another thing is this isn't even just cinematic. Don't get me wrong, it is cinematic. But it literally said at the beginning of the trailer that this is running in the in-game engine. So we'll have to see, because in-game engine don't mean everything. But it's still crazy to think about. Now look at this. I'm sorry, I'm pausing way too much, but look at this. Just really look at this. This is on the river. This is on the river. It's insane. Okay, I'm gonna actually let it play. Imagine having river battles or water battles like this. Now finally possible. Or like what? Defenders do a blockade, maybe? Boarding ships is going to be possible. Ramming ships is going to be possible. I wonder how they're going to do that. Great. I mean, the community's been asking for it for years, and they did it. They did it. Yeah. You see the little ships moving right there, right? Let me see if I can pause at the right frame. Look at this settlement. Tell me this cannot be navally sieged. This can totally be navally sieged. Or at least it'll be an oceanside map. That looks like a bridge, so maybe they'll have you use a battling realm and siege tower. Maybe not siege towers. Maybe ladders, battling realm right over there. They don't have you if you want to use the ships to land. If I had to guess, either way, it's very, very good. Very, very good. And this could be on that island. This settlement could be on that island map. You know, because if they have this, right, and if this map is true, even though it says Kingdom Rebellion, I think these are unofficial kingdom names. Even if the terrain, in fact, is very much true. So, if they're adding separate islands that's having different things like this, it would make sense why they're adding naval stuff, because maybe they want us to be able to finally go to any one of these places if they're keeping the original content. Wow. Now we also go to the official Tell World's website, where it says the announcing the War Cells expansion and base game plans. So they got the trailer right there. Probably should have been watching it out of here, but it's fine. It's to sail the high seas and lead mighty fleets and forge your legacy in War Cells. Look at this. Meet the Nord. So it is confirmed. There is gonna be another Viking faction. Even though Sturgius, the closest thing we have to Vikings, they were of the Kievan Rus. Not full Vikings, basically Russian Vikings, for people who do not know who they were. Essentially. But they kind of became their own thing eventually. So we'll have a Viking race. If you play the main game and Bannerlord, there's always been a culture called the Nords that have never been actually used. And I've always wondered why they're in the game. And I'm like, well, if you ever played Mountain Blade Warband, they were there. So I wasn't sure what that was. But now they add that as an actual culture. So what's probably going to differ is maybe we'll have a Nord invasion happen. Maybe it's a reverse New World kind of deal where we're actually the New World and a bunch of Vikings come invade us. Who knows? He says Calraid has been reimagined with a northern region, a settled island, and coastal waters to the open sea. So if we use what we figured out, a northern region, that could only suggest this because that variation of blue, Vakken, is the only region that's the closest towards us. And it is the color of the Nords. The Nords do have that color. That is their color, even in Skyrim. It only makes sense. Maybe like this region, kind of like how Britannia and Vlandia, which it makes sense. Britannia and Vlandia actually kind of come from the same region, but kind of not. Uh, it could also be the same for Vakken and Sturgia, and here goes the Imperials. And even when you look on where the Kuzite is, there's this other faction that I think, which is other Khanites. So like you have the Khans, the Vikings, the Imperials. What would you call this section? Maybe the even more basic version of the English, perhaps. And then the Sultanates to the south, the Azerai, the Darshi. So very, very, very interesting theme they got going on here. Now, it probably won't be called Vakken, but it might be called Vakken. What we do know is that it has to be talking about this. Even when we launch the base game itself, this northern region is here. Water system missiles. So, it includes storms and trade winds. So what we can probably assume is that there'll be storms and they'll cost maybe men just going in them, or maybe your food will be absolutely destroyed and you're starting to end up starving. And maybe the trade winds affect how fast you'll sail. Rewriting the gates, but beware attrition can unravel in the best laid plans. Just as I said, naval and Notifcations integrate into Bannerlord's reshaping warfare and diplomacy, ship production, and new trade goods at regional development. Coastal towns may grow rich from this if they could fend off pirates and naval invasions. So there will be naval invasions and pirates, and it's saying cities will gain rich if they happen to defend against them. Which is interesting because if they're saying if they can fend off pirates, does that mean pirates will be able to attack a city directly? Sieges have also been adapted to naval warfare. Sieges, okay, so there, as I said, there will be naval sieges. So this is a confirmed fact. Armies will have to bring in the longer fleet and set up a blockade if they want to stop supplies and reinforcing from overseas. Build your fleet. 18 different ship types. Wow. Each with unique handling shaped by realistic wave and wind physics. They can be customized for siege engine, cargo hold, siege realms. So it's a whole new system entirely. It's a whole new system. Expand your arsenal of this character, something that has been explored there. Nord hairstyles, beards, tattoos, 3 nauticals. Styles to your ship. They are also new items including spears, swords, axes, shields, and armor. The usual. So new equipment, learn the ropes, a new quest line introduces the player to the siege for cinematics and scripted missions in classic Mountain Blade. So like the story mode, but much more scripted. Command your ship, taking a battle against a pirate confederacy. Lead a growing fleet of Newfoundland if you're ready. Okay. So that's going to be a lot more important because now they said something about reshaping diplomacy earlier. So what? So what does that mean? Is the diplomacy going to stay the same, or is it kind of be like, well, now there'll be new issues? You know, not everyone's going to be attacking each other on the mainland anymore. They got to worry about pirates and seas and other armies using those ships and so on and so forth, as we can see by the different cultures on the ships. Sounds of Eve. So Nordic and Mediterranean soundtracks. Okay. Now here goes base game plans. After the full release of October, we publish it. If you guys want to read this, you can. If you guys want to read all that and pause the video and read this, you can. DLC. You're open to exploring DLC as one introducing and why that remains true. That, so they fully acknowledge that their communication hasn't been exactly 100% clear. Post release, we're exploring DLC. So maybe DLCs will be coming much more often in Bannerlord. Maybe like once a year, maybe every 6 months, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see how big these DLCs. This is like a big DLC for multiple reasons. One, for the base game purposes, and two, which in my opinion is the most important part. Sorry, developers. Um, modding, modding, especially the Star Wars Separatist Crisis mod. That's still being worked on will benefit very heavily from this. I can imagine. It doesn't ultimately doesn't meet the cloud. Rather than thinking about releasing something, we made a tough decision to cancel its launch. These hurdles caused a delay in our communication. The good news is that instead of shelving the work, we will be repurposing. Oh, a more story. So, for further clarification, this was actually a story-based DLC, story-driven eventually, but they said it couldn't reach their expectations, and because it couldn't reach their expectations, they had to change it. They had to take the good parts from that DLC, and that's what we got here. There's also this also and said this involves the introduction of a robust stealth system will allow you to infiltrate dungeons, to hide out, rescue prisoners, dispatch enemies without raising alarms. Will now detect sound and motion, becoming alerted by your actions to progressive levels. Just to see, you need not only consider yourself, your position and movement, but also your environment, utilizing the elevation, darkness of the night, and natural cover to achieve your goals covertly. While this may not be maybe enough in some cases, you'll find other stealth tap distractions and concealing corpses just as useful. Honing your effectiveness will be further be possible for gear and roguery skill. So they're actually adding an actual purpose to the roguery skill, because don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things in Bannerlord that doesn't have a lot of purposes, but one of the purposes that kind of didn't, one of the skill trees that it kind of didn't really have a real purpose was the roguery tree. Other than recruiting bandits and getting Botanian Fiend champions, that was the only real functional use in which you would level it up for. Or if you was using a mod that required it. Also using several features that one. For one, we want to improve our trade system so that the player will be able to better develop their characters. Okay. To this end, it was a little bit lackluster. To this end, we are working on a feature that will prompt you for random events during your journey. Ideally, this will not offer a new avenue, but add it further to the world of Cavaria. Okay, so they're integrating random events into the base game. Town and castle products also undergo changes. These adjustments will improve the balance between projects with impactful events and those with limited or situational effects, and add new types. This should allow for better control over the management of your fee. Okay, so it's not just so hopefully it's not just you dumping 10,000 and then forgetting about it. It's a time of passage in cycle game. While we think manages to achieve a happy medium between this progression and not rushing players, we also feel that the additional choice in this regard will make a rather fun alternative to the vanilla experience. So, like altering how long the game lasts. while also making it easy to communicate with nearby enemies. Introducing the parlay feature, allowing you to enter a conversation without getting your head cut off. Okay, let's see. So you can be like right there and talk to them. So you don't have to be right next to each other to talk to a person. Which makes sense. You don't have to be in sword distance to talk to someone. If you, I'm assuming if they accept the parlay. The community requested character and import and export features in the works, allowing you to adjust various aspects like equipment, perks, skills, attributes, name by editing the character in the game side and importing it via the console via window cheats. Okay, so if you have a character that you don't want to really recreate, you can always do that, and that's probably going to be very useful for not just recreation, but again modding. Alongside these, we will continue to work on a combat experience, which includes the new addition of weapon types. New weapon types. Spear bracing is being refined with better targeting, smoother animations, and spearmen use their spears by default, which is very good because spearmen always resorted to using their swords and very rarely used their spears. And when they did use their spears, it was when the opponent was already way too close, and then they would switch back to their sword. This is fantastic. A new weapon type, a sling. You know, a lot of people underestimate a sling, but a sling back then in medieval times, with enough power behind it, had enough power to be like a bullet. And I'm not even saying that just out saying that a professional war slingers were a thing in the past simply because they were so effective. They were effective and they hurt a lot, and they would sometimes even hit with the force of a bullet. The defining feature is that it's a rock and a metal bullet being propelled. So a piece of metal sharpened. Okay. Fine. AI enhancements, more accurate usage of melee weapons, improved path frozen, reduced zigzag movements. Okay. Preventing archers with a targeted aim from getting too close to the enemy. So there'll be archers. We're likely working on a number of adjustments to support our modders better. You hear that, modders? Better support. This includes allowing attack while crouched, looking at you. Mods with guns. That's the thing about Warband and really Bannerlord is that Intel World's Entertainment, to be very specific. They understand their game will be modded. They understand that modding is their lifeblood, as the game's lifeblood. And don't get me wrong, the base game by itself is great too, but they understand that Warband lasted, what was it, 15 years because of how many insane mods popped up. And now in Bannerlord, it's the same thing. So many mods are popping off with big updates, and big updates. Further open up the AI agent attack and weapon selection decision. So this will make sense to a lot of modders, but though for modders, the key points is that you're going to be getting a lot more support. You'll get a built-in EMXL editor, removing the need to manually edit files, remove or modify items, heroes, factions, and settlements. So you guys can just do all of that now. Those who will prefer to continue doing it manually will have to see the process simplified. So when this update comes out, your guys' life is going to be easier apparently here. And that brings us to the end of today's announcement. On behalf of everyone at Tailhoover, we want to express our heartfelt thanks for your incredible support and dedication over the years. We can't wait to share even more in the coming weeks. Until then, stay tuned and take care. We'll see you soon. March 30th. So, the initial release date. It is March 21st, 2025. Really think about that. 5 years. That means half a decade. Half a decade. This game has been around. Wow. Well, without further ado, thank you for watching. Take your time and don't forget to like and subscribe. Please, it really does help me out. And keep on doing your thing.